Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Sarah and I'll be taking you through your class here today. So today we're going to be focusing on the side body, we're going to be focusing on some rotations through the spine. So a majority of us spend a lot of time seated and over computers or writing. So over a period of time we tend to sometimes hunch over, same sitting on the sofa at home watching TV. So yeah, just bringing a little bit of extra mobility into the spine with rotations and into the side body as well can really help just to loosen up the spine, bring a bit more mobility into that area. So, perfect. Today we're going to also start with a slightly different breath practice that we've been practicing in previous weeks throughout the classes. So today we're going to start with Ujjayi breath, and Ujjayi breath is also known as ocean breath or victorious breath. Some other people, for the Star Wars fans out there, can know it as well as the Darth Vader breath. So with this form and style of pranayama, this style of breathing, we are basically constricting the back of the throat. And I'll take you through it step by step. And if it's not for you, know that you can always come back to your breath awareness practice. This is not compulsory, it's not something that you have to do. This is your practice and you're free to do it as you wish to do, as always. So with Ujjayi breath, the benefits to Ujjayi is that it's very calm and soothing to the body, to the nervous system, but ultimately it is practiced so that it creates heat in the breath, and that heat travels through the throat into the lungs and in return is energetically heating the body. So this breath practice is used to prepare the body for the asanas that we take in our practice. And basically it's like anything, you know, before you do a vigorous workout, you warm the body up, you do the stretches to warm the body, and Ujjayi is very similar. So it warms the lung and in return warms up the body and helps us move for our asanas with a nice warmed up body. So when you are ready, as always as well, have some props close by if you have them at home, or if you're practicing, wherever you're practicing at the moment. It might be some blocks, it might be some books, it might be some shoe boxes that you might be using as blocks, as props. Be as creative as you want. Bolster, if you don't have a bolster, you can use a big sofa cushion or a bed cushion, a bed pillow, or even a rolled up towel. So when you've come to find all of your props and you've found yourself onto your mat, and come to find a nice comfortable seat. So whatever that looks like for you, it might be kneeling over the prop, it might be seated with the legs crossed. And if, as always, you don't want to take this seated, you can feel free to take it laying as well. And then when you're ready, if it's there for you today, we're going to close down the eyes or take a soft gaze out in front of you. And just taking a moment to notice how you've turned up on your mat today, how the body is feeling. Not passing any judgment, we are simply acknowledging how we feel right here, right now. In terms of, can we straighten the spine a little bit longer? Can we bring some more length? Can we ground down through the sit bones into the earth beneath us? And then if you have straightened the spine, you've noticed that the neck is quite straight and the chin might be jutting up or forward. Having a very slight tuck of the chin, so it's coming towards the chest, not necessarily is it meeting the chest, finding that length through the back of the neck so it connects with the length of the spine. And then start to bring your awareness to your breath, to the ebb and flow of the breath in and out. We're not forcing anything, we are merely observing the breath coming in and out of the body. And then to begin either staying with your breath awareness practice or to begin your Ujjayi practice, we're going to open the mouth. We're going to take an inhale through the nose if it's there. And then as you Open the mouth and breathe out. Imagine you are fogging a mirror. So you have a mirror in front of you and you want to fog that mirror. So the sound you will be making will be like a so H-A, ha, a ha sound. And we're going to stay here for a couple of rounds. So inhaling through the nose if that's there for you. And then out through the mouth. And feeling that restriction at the back of the throat. So once again, using the fogging of the mirror as a kind of emphasis to know what that actually feels like and create that Ujjayi breath. We're not being forceful here either. The inhale is natural. And the Ujjayi breath out is also natural, not forcing it. We're allowing it to be quite a soft, like an ocean wave motion coming out. And then taking maybe 1 or 2 more rounds with the mouth open. And then we're going to move to closing the mouth. So we're creating that same process. So we're inhaling through the nose. And then we're going to exhale through the nose as well, but we're using that motion that with the mouth closed. So inhaling and then exhaling. And you might even notice that with the Ujjayi breath that you can notice the similarities why it might be called ocean breath. Because when we close our mouth and we send that exhale out, it sounds like the ocean in the ears. And staying here for 4 to 5 rounds. Inhaling through the nose, restricting the back of the throat as you pretend that you're fogging up that mirror and you exhale with the mouth closed. If it's not there for you today with the mouth closed, then revert back to opening the mouth and using the mouth as your exhale. And know that if this feels slightly complicated, that's because it's something new. That's because it's a new practice of breath. And it's just an adjustment period. You'll get used to it with time. As they say, practice makes perfect. Being kind to yourself and honouring what your body wants to do here today. And then when you feel like you've done your final round, there is no rush if you are still practicing your Ujjayi breath. I'm going to come to let go of that practice and just allow the natural rhythm of the breath to return to the body. That natural inhale and exhale. You feel ready, we're going to open up the eyes if you took the option of closing down the eyes, and we're going to find our way onto the mat. So coming down, we're coming into child's pose to begin. So taking your knees out wide as the mat or thereabouts, and walking the hands so they're towards the top of the mat. Palms are coming down towards the mat, forearms are coming down towards the mat. And we're sending the tailbone back towards the heels. So we want the sit bones to be pushed back towards the heels. And just taking a moment here in your child's pose, your balasana pose. Maybe you come up onto the fingertips and you walk the hands away from you a little bit further before placing the hands and the forearms back down. And taking 3 rounds of breath here. And then on our next breath, we're going to come back up onto the fingertips. Maybe you lift the forehead ever so slightly if it is on the mat. And we're going to walk the hands over towards the left side of your mat so that the hands are coming towards the left side. We're keeping the body, the bottom part of the body as it is. And thumbing down through the hands. We're pushing ourselves back to that right hip still. And feeling that lateral right stretch along the side of the right side of the body. And if you want something a little bit deeper, maybe bring in the right hand so it's placed on top of the left hand. And then on your next breath, we're going to walk the hands back through center. Coming to take a moment just here. And then on your next breath, walking the hands over towards the right side of the mat. Pushing down into the hands and pushing yourself so that the hip is still pushing back towards the left side of the body. And taking a moment here, maybe you place the left hand on top of the right hand to find that extra stretch across the left side of the body. And then on your next breath, walking the hands back through center, coming back into your neutral child's pose. And then when you're ready, we're going to come to place the elbows down towards the mat. And you might even like a prop here, so if you have got a pillow or you are using something like a block, maybe incorporating that in. So we're bringing the elbows so that they're planted either on the mat or on your prop. Bringing the hands to meet. And then we're coming to find, so the forehead might be floating here in between the props that you are using, or maybe the forehead is back down on the mat. And we are bringing the thumbs towards the back of the head. So the elbows are pressing down to the ground beneath you. The thumbs are drawing to the back of the neck, the back of the head. Not necessarily will they meet. We're creating that stretch across the armpits, both armpits. And if you notice, if you push the elbows down into the ground and you rotate the arms outwards, you'll notice that you can get a nice little stretch across the shoulder blades as well as the armpits, down the sides of the lats. And then on your next breath, coming to find our way up so that we are bringing the knees back to meet. And we're just taking a moment to sit over the tops of the heels here. And maybe closing down the eyes. And maybe you'd like to set an intention here for your practice today, or for the day ahead, or the week ahead. And cultivating something that you want to achieve for yourself this week. That might be to incorporate more kindness towards yourself and others. Or maybe that you move with more awareness through your practice. Or maybe you move with more awareness within your week of how the body feels, how the mind feels, and what you can offer yourself. And if you've closed down the eyes, coming to open up the eyes. And then we're taking the hands behind us, interlacing the fingers. And if that's not there for you, you might like to take hold of opposite elbows, or just bringing the hands behind you, maybe placing the hands on the lower back. If you are bringing the hands to interlace behind you, we are sending the shoulders back and down. So we're opening the chest up here ever so slightly. We're not flaring the ribs up or creating a arch in the spine. So the spine is nice and straight. And just breathing here for one moment. And then we're bringing the hands forward. So we're letting go of that interlace, bringing the hands forward, they interlace in front of us. And then we bring the chin towards the chest, protracting through the shoulder blades here. And we're alternating between these two movements. So we're interlacing the fingers behind us, drawing the shoulders back and down. Bringing the hands so they're in front of us, interlacing, the chin comes towards the chest. Sending the shoulder blades away from each other. And then coming back through center. And we're finding our way into a tabletop pose. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, thereabouts. Nice neutral spine. Gaze is down towards the mat. And then we're going to move through cat-cow. So when you feel ready, we're lowering the stomach down towards the mat. Tailbone lifts up towards the ceiling. The gaze comes towards the top of the mat for your cow pose. Reversing this motion, firming down through the hands, tucking the tailbone under, lifting the spine up towards the ceiling. The chin comes towards the chest for your cat pose. And taking 3 more rounds like so, in your own time. Maybe moving with the breath. And then coming to find a neutral spine when you feel ready. We're coming to find our thread the needle pose next. So we're going to be starting with the right hand, so firming down into the left hand, taking the right hand out towards the side so that it's shoulder height. And then you might rotate the chest open some more so the fingertips come up maybe towards the corner edge of the room or towards the ceiling. Really finding that rotation through the spine, through the rib cage. And then when we're weaving that hand between the gap of the leg and the arm, as we bring that shoulder to meet the mat. And if you want some movement here to begin with, maybe you're coming in and out, not placing that shoulder down as such to begin with, maybe taking 1 or 2 rounds like that before you come to place the shoulder actually down onto the mat, the forehead down onto the mat, or a prop if the forehead is not quite meeting the mat. And we're thinking about rotating the chest over towards that left side, but once again we're not forcing anything here, just being really mindful of the spine and what it needs from you today. And then on the next breath, pushing down into that left hand, maybe you do a counteraction and open back up again before placing that right hand down to meet the left hand. And then taking the right leg, the right foot out towards the side. We're going to walk the hands in towards the body as we come up to rise. So we're coming into a gate pose. So right leg is extended long and we're kneeling on the left knee. Placing the right hand maybe onto the right leg or onto the right thigh. We're going to extend that left arm up towards the ceiling as we then lean over towards the right side. Coming to find that side stretch in the left side of the body. Maybe the gaze is down towards the right foot, or maybe it's up towards the ceiling. And then coming back through center, coming to place the hands back down towards the mat. We've still got that leg extended. We're going to send the hips back towards the heel, and as you do so, you might like to turn the toes up to face the ceiling. Bringing in a nice stretch along the back of the calf, back of the hamstring, and then coming forward one more time. As you come forward, the toes are coming back down towards the mat, and then coming back one more time, toes are drawing up towards the ceiling as the hips come back towards that left heel, and then coming forward one more time. We're going to bring that right leg back in to join the left knee, coming back into our tabletop pose. Coming over to the left side now. So we're firming down through that right hand. We're extending that left hand up towards the side of that shoulder height. And then you might like to explore rotating that chest up towards the ceiling, the left side. Coming to thread the hand through that gap between the right arm and right knee. And maybe you're exploring with that movement, or maybe you find stillness to begin with straight away. Taking whatever variation is calling for you today, whether you want more stillness in your practice or more movement. Before coming to find stillness, if you haven't took that option already. And taking 1 to 2 rounds of breath here. Finding that rotation through the spine, through the chest. And then the next breath, firming down into the right hand, coming to maybe find that counteraction before coming to place the left hand back down to meet the right. And then we are now extending that left leg out towards the side of us. Toes are facing the edge, facing forward. And then we're walking the hands in and we're coming up, finding ourselves, so we're kneeling on that right knee. We're sending the right arm up towards the ceiling, the left arm down the left leg or maybe onto the left hip, as we then reach over towards the left side, finding that right lateral side stretch. And maybe the gaze is down towards the foot, or maybe it's up towards the ceiling. And then when you feel ready, coming back through center and bringing the hands back down towards the mat. So we're going to send the hips back towards the left foot, and as we do so, back towards the right foot. As we do so, the left toes are going to turn up towards the ceiling. Coming back forward, toes are facing forward in a kind of tabletop variation. And then coming back, this is like a child's pose variation. The left toes are going up towards the ceiling. And then drawing back forward. Lovely. And then coming to find your way back into a tabletop pose when you are ready. Finding that neutral spine. Then coming to tuck the toes. We're coming to find our downward facing dog. So we're tucking the toes. Maybe sending the hands a handprint out ahead of you. Really firming down through the hands. As we send the hips back towards the heels, send some power into the legs as we then hover the knees and lift the hips up and back for your first downward facing dog. Taking a moment here to pedal out the feet. Moving as slow or as fast as whatever's calling to you today. And then coming to find some stillness. Maybe inviting in a nice bent knees here. Really create some length through that spine. Maybe you might like to bring some more engagement into the hands. So imagining that we are magnetically drawing the thumbs into one another. Maybe you even create that downward pressure motion as you do that in your mind's eye. And the gaze is in between the legs, and then we're going to gently walk the hands towards the back of the mat today. Coming to find your forward fold at the back of that mat. Maybe that's elbows towards knees, maybe that's fingertips towards mat, or maybe palms towards mat. And inviting in a really nice generous bend in the knee here to create some space through the spine, through the legs. Maybe you take hold of opposite elbows. You find a little sway side to side here. Nodding the head yes, nodding the head no. Allowing the neck to be really nice and heavy. The head's heavy here. And when you feel ready, letting go of the hands. And come into place. The left hand down towards the mat to begin with. And we're straightening, so we're keeping a real nice bent left knee. And we're going to straighten that right leg. And as we straighten the right leg, we're sending the right arm towards the side at shoulder height. And if you want to once again further rotate, the hand might go up towards the ceiling and the chest might rotate towards the right side. So you'll find that there's a nice long stretch along the hamstring and calf. And if that's too much, inviting in a micro bend to that right knee as well. And if that twist is too much, just listening to your body and knowing that you can always come into regressed version so the arm can come towards the side. The stretch is still a nice deep stretch. And then coming to bend that right knee, placing the right hand down. We're then bending through the right knee, straightening the left leg, coming to send the left arm out towards the side. Right hand is firmly planted down on the mat. And then you might externally rotate the chest towards the left side, and that left arm might go up towards the ceiling. Gaze might follow, or gaze might be down towards the mat. And then coming to place that left hand back down. We're going to take one more on each side in your own time. So coming to find the right side, straightening that left leg, that right leg, bending the left knee. Left hand's planted towards the floor, towards the mat. And then coming to swaps, so placing the right hand down, right knee bends, left leg straightens, left arm rises. And then lovely, coming back down. We're going to walk the hands out, coming to find your plank pose, taking the knees gently down towards the mat as we then guide the chest somewhere down towards the mat. Extending the right leg long, left leg long, and bringing the hands to they're beside the rib cage. We're taking the shoulders away from the ears, drawing them down the back, firming into the tops of the feet to find some engagement. When you are ready, we're going to lift the head, lift the chest, coming to find your baby cobra. And then next, on your next breath, we're coming up through tabletop, firming down, pushing down through the hands, tucking the toes, and lifting the hips up and back for your downward facing dog. Beautiful work. And then one more time when you're ready, we're going to walk the hands towards the feet, towards the back of the mat, finding our forward fold, your variation. And then firming down through the feet, really grounding down here, through the big toe, the little toe, the heel. Finding that awareness in your positioning of your feet as we then bend the knees and we come up to rights, taking the arms out nice and wide. Palms might meet as they draw down through heart center. And coming to find the hands beside the body, finding your Tadasana pose. Taking a moment here to acknowledge the breath, acknowledge the body. And then on the next breath, we're coming to bring the hands up above the head. And as we do so, bringing the hands over the head, we're going to take a hold of the right wrist with the left hand. And then we're leaning over towards the left side. So the body is still central, but we are taking the right arm over towards the left side of the body. So we're finding that lateral side stretch once again across the right side of the body. And then coming back through center, we're going over to the other side. So the right hand catches a hold of the left hand, the left wrist, stretching over towards the right side of the room, right side of the body. And then coming back through center, drawing the hands down through heart center, folding over the tops of the thighs. Coming to find a halfway lift, bringing the hands towards the shins, flat back, gazes down towards the mat. Folding forward and then coming to find our way, crawling out towards a plank, lowering the knees back down, drawing the heart, the head, the chest through to the mat, extending the legs long, and then coming up, finding your baby cobra, lifting the head, lifting the chest, and then coming back down, pushing up through tabletop, tucking your toes and lifting your hips up and back for your downward facing dog. And then next, in your downward facing dog, we're going to come to find a twist. So this is bringing some rotation into the spine once more. So we're taking our right hand over towards the left side of the left leg. So for you that might be that comes towards the calf, maybe it's towards the knee,
towards the thigh, towards the knee, towards the calf, or even towards the ankle. And we're sending the body through the left side of the body. So the gaze might be towards the back of the room or maybe up towards the ceiling. And then coming back through center, placing that right hand down, and coming to place the left hand on whatever part of the leg helps us to send the body through the right side for a twist on the left side of the spine. And then coming to place the left hand down, coming to place the knees down onto the mat and coming to sit over the tops of the thighs just for a moment, just to come off the wrists. Maybe you even circle them out. And just knowing at any time that if you want to take a child's pose or you want to come into a pause, this is your practice, inviting any moments of pause for you. And then when you're ready, we're coming back into a tabletop. Coming to tuck the toes, lifting the hips up and back for downward facing dog. And just taking a moment here. And then coming to extend the right leg behind us. So the leg is coming up about hip height. Maybe you're pointing the toes or flexing the toes towards you. Bending that knee, and we're coming to bring the knee towards the chest, stepping that foot forward if it needs a little helping hand, coming to help it through. We're lowering that left knee down towards the mat nice and gently, untucking the toes and coming up to rise. Maybe the hands are to heart center, or maybe they're overhead or in cactus. Just taking a moment here in your low lunge. And bringing some awareness maybe into that pelvis. And just noticing if we tuck the tailbone, does that feel like that gives you more length through the hip flexor, or does it create discomfort? Like what positioning here feels right for your pelvis, right for your lower back? And then bring the hands to heart center. We're going to come over to find some rotation through the spine. So we're rotating over towards the right edge of the mat. So bring in the chest so that we're turned towards the right edge of the room. And you might like to stay here, or if you want additional, you can extend the arms out to opposite ends of the mat, finding your lunge twist. But if that is too much, staying with that twist towards the right corner of your mat. And then coming back through center, coming to frame the front foot, coming to tuck the back toes and finding yourself in a low lunge. Firming down through the front toe, front pinky toe, front big toe, and the heel. And really finding some stability through those back toes. Firming down into both feet as we come up to rise, finding ourselves in our crescent lunge. And taking a moment here to set up your foundation. Maybe you move the feet to find a more stable base. And then the hands coming to heart center if they're not here already. And we're doing the same thing we just done in our low lunge and our low lunge twist. We're taking the chest and the body over towards the right corner of the mat, the right corner of the room. And if you want an extra additional twist, maybe you extend those arms out. So right arm towards the back of the mat, left arm towards the top of the mat. For that additional twist. And then drawing the hands back through heart center, coming to find your crescent lunge. And then bringing some awareness into that back leg. So this back leg, we're going to spiral that heel down so that the toes are facing the long edge of the mat, coming into your warrior two stance. So that front knee is bent. We're extending the arms out, finding warrior two so they're shoulder height. And then we're coming to straighten that front leg. So we're going to come into triangle pose. So for this pose, you might like to heel toe the back foot in a little bit, find a more narrow stance. You may even like to have some props close by on the inside of that right foot. So the right leg is straight. The back leg, the toes are still turned out towards the long edge of the mat. The arms are out, shoulder height.
And also just bringing some awareness into that leg. Are we locking that knee out? And just finding maybe a slight micro bend in that leg. And then when you're ready, we're coming slightly forward with the arms. So we're traveling the fingertips forward. And then when you feel like you've reached a point, we're going to tilt the right arms down towards the mat to the inside of the leg for triangle pose. So that the body is roughly parallel, well, coming parallel towards the mat. Not necessarily is it parallel. And the chest is turning towards the long left long edge of the mat. The left hand might be on the hip, or it might be up towards the ceiling. And then the gaze can be down towards the right foot, or it can be up towards the ceiling. Just noticing what placement of the head feels right for you. And then when you're ready, we're coming back up, coming to frame, removing any props, turning onto the back toes into our low lunge, coming to frame that right foot, and then stepping the right foot back to meet the left foot. Coming down onto the knees, and we're coming to lower the body towards the mat, extending the legs out long, firming down into the tops of the feet, into the tops of the thighs, hands are beside the rib cage. We send the shoulders away from the ears as we lift the head, lift the chest for baby cobra. And then coming back up into tabletop, lifting, tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back for your downward facing dog. And then we're coming over towards the left side now. So we're extending that left leg behind us. So we're in three-legged dog. It's roughly about hip height, and then bending the knee, bringing the knee towards the chest, towards the nose, stepping that foot through the hands, maybe giving it a helping hand, lowering that back right knee gently towards the mat, untucking the toes, and coming to rise for your low lunge. Taking any hand variation that is calling here for you. And once again, inviting in that awareness to the pelvis. Finding what pelvic alignment feels right for you in this low lunge. And just going between untucking the tailbone and tucking the tailbone and seeing what feels most comfortable for you. And then bringing the hands through heart center, and we're turning over towards the left edge of the mat. So we're turning the chest over towards the left edge, left corner. And taking a breath here. And maybe this is where you want to stay, or maybe you might like to extend the arms out long like wings, sending the left fingertips towards the back edge of the mat and the right fingertips towards the right edge. Maybe the hands stay at heart center if you have gone a little bit deeper with the twist. And then coming back through center, coming to frame that left foot with the fingers, with the fingertips, the hands, tucking the back toes, and coming to raise the knee as we find ourselves in a low lunge. Firming down into both feet, really finding your stable, your base before we come up to rise into crescent lunge. And taking a moment here to set up your foundation. So that back knee, you might like to invite in a bend to find more space across the hip flexor. Maybe you take a more narrow stance to find more stability, or maybe the stance is more wider. And then finding your breath. And then once again on your next breath, we're going to turn the chest over towards the left side of the mat. So the lower body is staying where it is. It's just the chest, just the spine that's rotating towards the left side. Taking a breath here. And then we're going to extend those arms out long if you want to, or maybe you are just staying with the palms to heart center and exploring that twist there. And coming back through heart center. And bringing awareness into that right leg, spiraling that heel so it's planted on the mat. The toes are facing the long edge of the mat. Front knee is bent as we come to find warrior two. So the arms are coming out so that they're shoulder height. And then coming to straighten that front left leg. So the back leg staying as it is. Maybe inviting in a little micro bend into that left leg. Maybe finding some engagement in the quads, in the glutes. And then bringing the fingertips forward as if you're reaching for something in front of you. And then we're turning our body down towards the mat as we send that right arm up towards the ceiling or maybe on towards the hip, and the left hand comes on the inside of the left leg, the triangle pose. Maybe the gaze is towards the floor or up towards the ceiling or towards the side of the room, wherever feels right for your neck alignment. And then coming back up, coming to find maybe your warrior two pose for one more moment. And then coming to frame that front foot, so we're cartwheeling the hands round to frame the left foot, stepping the left foot back to meet the right, and then drawing the heels, the hips back towards the heels as we come to find a kneeling pose. And just taking a moment here to notice the body. Maybe you notice a change in how the spine feels and how the back feels with some of the rotations and side stretches you've done here today. Or maybe there's nothing to notice. Now transitioning into lightning pose. So this is going to be a flow pose that we're going to take here. So we're coming onto our knees, so we're coming to kneel. And the toes are stretched out long behind us. And we're coming to raise the right arm up towards the sky to begin with. Left hand is on the left hip. And then very gently and slowly we're going to send the hips back towards the heels. And as we do so, we're coming down to the mat with the body. Not necessarily, the body might, the chest might meet the thighs as the hand touches the floor. And then we're coming straight back up again. Coming over towards the other side now. So we're extending the left arm up towards the ceiling, right hand on towards the hip. And we're in our kneeling posture. And then as we come back, we're sending the hips back towards the heels. Body's coming parallel towards the mat. As we come down, the chest might meet the thighs. Hand might graze the floor as we come back up, finding our lightning pose. And we're going to alternate between these two movements. So in your own time, coming through each round twice on each side. And then when you've finished, we're going to all meet in a child's pose. And there is no rush, taking this movement as slowly or as fast as you wish to take. And coming to find your child's pose, whether that is legs out wide and hands come through, or maybe you're taking a traditional style, which is knees together, arms come behind the body, palms face up, and forehead connects to the mat or towards a prop underneath the head. And just taking 2 to 3 rounds of breath here in your restorative balasana, your child's pose. And your final round of breath, coming back up, and we're finding our way so the sit bones are on towards the mat, coming to find a wide-legged forward fold. So with our wide-legged forward fold, we're taking the legs out. You might like to face the long edge of your mat to do so. So we're taking the legs out wide, maybe removing any fleshy parts from underneath the sit bones, and coming to find a nice long spine. You might like to incorporate a prop, maybe even like a rolled up towel underneath. So having a rolled up towel or rolled up blanket underneath the hips can really help with pelvic tilt. So if you are finding some tightness I'm coming to prop the sit bones so they're sitting on the edge, just on the edge of a prop. So I'll show you from this side. So they're on the edge, and it helps just create a little bit of pelvic tilt. So if that's something that you'd like to try and is calling to you, give that a go. And then flexing the toes towards the face. We're externally rotating the legs out. And maybe you want to stay here. Maybe the hands come behind you. And we're finding length through that spine. Gaze is straight ahead. But if you want to come forward, maybe bring the hands between the legs, walking the hands forward, or even keeping the hands behind you to help walk you forward. Still finding that external rotation through the legs. And if you have a prop you want to use, maybe you're bringing that prop in between the legs and you're bringing the forearms to meet the prop. Coming to find a more restorative version of wide-legged fold. And we're going to be here for 3 to 4 rounds of breath. Still maintaining that length through the spine so we're not dumping or curling into the pose. Here, there's a nice amount of length through the spine. And with each breath, maybe you notice that you can come forward ever so slightly more into your wide-legged fold. And then in a final round of breath, coming to remove any props if you took that option. Bring in the hands behind the backs of the knees and bringing the knees up with the support of the hands. And taking the feet just a little bit out hip width behind you, maybe taking some window wipers, bringing the knees over to alternate sides. Just moving out through the hips there. And then finding our way onto the mat. So we're going to come in to find a Supta Baddha Konasana, which is a reclined butterfly pose. For this pose you might like to have a pillow underneath the back, or maybe you want to be completely flat down towards the mat. So if you are coming back down towards the mat, we're going to start by bringing the bases of the feet together to begin with. And maybe your diamond shape here is a small diamond, or maybe it's quite a big diamond. So by that I mean maybe the heels are drawn in towards the body, or maybe they're extended away from the body. When you've found your diamond shape with your legs, your Baddha Konasana, your butterfly pose, we're going to bring the hands behind us and come to shuffle maybe the hips forward a little bit before we come to lay down on towards the mat. And if you get down here and you notice it's not very comfortable, once again, maybe even inviting in some props underneath the knees. If you've got pillows around you, they can be a great support for the knees when they're hanging in mid-air for Supta Baddha Konasana. And then coming to bring the hands either maybe on the body or away from the body. And finding 3 to 4 rounds of breath here in your own time. Lovely. So we're going to end our practice here today. So we're coming to find our final resting pose. So we're going to finish today's practice off with body scan meditation. So body scan is it's a style of mindfulness meditation, and you're just basically working through different parts of the body. So generally we work from the feet up towards the crown of the head. And we're just bringing in some awareness to certain parts of the body. So we're not linking any judgment to any feelings in the body as such. And you might like to incorporate into this practice your breath. So if there's parts of the body that you feel that you can't release, that you can't soften, maybe you imagine sending the breath there to that part of the body. So when you're finding yourself ready, coming down to the mat, extending the legs out long, the arms beside the body, inviting any props in, allowing yourself to get really comfortable here. So maybe that means that you bring in a pillow underneath the backs of the knees. Maybe you bring in a blanket if you want some extra warmth. And just coming to close down the eyes if that is there for you today, if that is here for you today. Or taking a real soft gaze. So with mindfulness meditation, with body scanning, it can help us bring awareness to the body, that there is a body there, awareness to the breath, and it can really help us to come into the present moment and come to find some stillness and some calmness in our day. It can also help us to become aware of parts of the body that we might need to give a little bit of extra attention to or love to. So when you feel ready, we're going to take our attention and turn it inwards. We're focusing our attention on the energy of the breath to begin with. And where that might be in the body for you. And once again, we're not judging anything, we are merely noticing sensations. So where in the body is the breath? Is it in the chest? Maybe it's in the stomach. Maybe for you, you feel it as it comes into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. Feeling that wind as it comes in and out. And then when you feel ready, we're going to begin by bringing our awareness into our feet. And bringing your awareness into all 10 toes. And then start to bring your awareness to the inside of the feet, to the arches, the bases of your feet. And then noticing that the ankles might be heavy here, that the feet are rolling out towards the side. And just noticing, can you allow the ankles, allow the feet to roll out a bit more without movement, just with your mind's eye, creating that sense of heaviness through the ankles. And then traveling up into the shins, into the calves, maybe into the knees. And once again, can you allow these areas to maybe soften or feel heavier? And bringing in some awareness of any sensations that you might be feeling. Maybe that's tingling or vibrations. We're not judging them once again, we are just observing them. And coming into the backs of the knees, that space, that air between the floor and the backs of the knees. Feeling that energy between the ground and the body. Coming into the thighs, the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes.
and travelling into the pelvis, into the hips. And maybe taking a moment to rest your mind here. Just notice any sensations that might arise. And know that if the mind wanders, this is perfectly natural and simply okay. Our minds are great explorers. They constantly want to go off and make plans and think about alternative things that we need to do for the day. But if we bring our mind back to the present, bring it back to where we are, it can help us rewire neural pathways. It can help change our trail of thought, if that's something you want to do. It can help us become more aware of ourselves in certain situations, in certain states that we might find ourselves day to day. And then travelling up into the stomach, feeling the softness here, the space. Coming into the rib cage, into the back of the body. Maybe feeling that space between the lower back and the mat and the floor. Coming into the front of the body, the front of the rib cage. Into the chest. Noticing any sensations that arise. And then coming into the shoulders. Can you allow them to be more heavier here? Can you create a sense of softness? And traveling down the arms into the biceps, the triceps, the elbows. Coming into the forearms. And coming into the wrist. And traveling into the palms. Once again, noticing any sensations or body twitches or anything that might be occurring here without judgment. Simply noticing. And coming to be aware of each finger, your thumbs. And coming back up, coming back to the tops of the shoulders where it connects to the neck, to the collarbone. An area that we tend to find quite a lot of tension in. Or maybe not so much for you. But can we maybe breathe into this space? Can we imagine sending the breath into the shoulders, into the collarbone, into the neck area? And coming up towards the jaw. Coming into the mouth. Allowing the tongue to feel heavy. Coming up to the temples, into the eyes. Allowing the eyes to feel heavy. And coming into the forehead, into the muscles in the forehead. creating that sense of softness here in between the eyebrows. And then bringing your awareness to the body as a whole. To how the body is feeling here after that body scan. Maybe noticing something, if there is something to notice. Maybe there is nothing here to notice. Neither is right or wrong. We are just observing. And then when you feel ready, coming to find some movement, we're going to gently find our way up towards a seat, taking some real soft, subtle movements to begin with, maybe through the fingertips and the toes, maybe into the wrists and into the ankles. Maybe you bend the knees and bring them in towards the chest for a little squeeze towards the body, a little rock side to side. And then coming up, when you feel ready, rolling off to one side, coming to find a seat, maintaining the eyes closed or a soft gaze if that's there for you. And placing the hands either beside you or anywhere on the body. And then maybe bringing the hands to heart center, drawing the thumbs towards the heart center. Just taking a moment here to acknowledge your practice, acknowledge your abilities. And maybe bringing your awareness and your attention back to that intention that you might have started with. Maybe that intention has since changed. From my heart to your heart, Namaste. Thank you for your practice here today. Take care and have a great day. Bye.